Nobody from your congregation is standing with you or standing behind you. Nobody wants a part of the heat that's coming your way right now. That's why you was out there by yourself. Don't act like I'm out here by myself. Nobody wants to stand with you on this, man. I got non-messianics that are supporting my video that I'm attacking non-messianic rhetoric and doctrine on.
I mean, for GMS to say that it's okay for a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old girl to get raped, that's sickening.
Guess what? He subscribes to a piece of literature that endorses that. So the Talmud is saying that a grown man can have a marriage and consummate the marriage with a sexual intercourse with a baby. Everybody in the conscious community is going to understand that you have no place, and you had no place, in commending me for me coming against GMS. You had no place expressing your disdain and how sickened you were at GMS's teaching of raping 12 and 13-year-old girls when we deal with what the Talmud, something you subscribe to, says about dealing and having sexual intercourse and relations with girls and boys even younger than that. The Talmud is telling you that if you have sex with a child that's younger than 9 years old, particularly a boy younger than 9 years old, as a man sodomized a boy under 9 years old, we talking about Bishop Eddie Long, we talking about Sandusky. What happens? No guilt, according to the Talmud. All right? The same book that Zion subscribes to, while he then points fingers at the New Testament. Let me tell you something, Zion Lexx. Do not, I repeat, do not throw stones if you live in a glass house.
Shots fired. Virtually nobody out here in the streets know me. Virtually nobody out here in the streets know me. Virtually nobody out here in the streets know me. Virtually nobody out here in the streets know me. Virtually nobody out here in the streets know me.
John chapter 14, verse 15.
Read.
If ye love me,
right? Everybody talking about they love Jesus, right? You got that damn, the daughter of one of the victims of that shooting talking about she forgives that goddamn devil that killed her father. All about the love of Jesus, right? That's all they talking about, the love of Jesus. Well, Yahweh Shai, who the world intimately calls Christ, said, what? If you love me, what?
keep my commandments.
Keep my commandments. So Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Christ, said, if you love him, you got to keep his commandments. So then now one of them people up in that church showed love for who the world calls Christ because they didn't keep the commandments.
That brother Guerrilla Hebrew created an intellectual environment that was so aggressive for them that the last thing that they could do was laugh. Zion Lexx, step up and be a man and check your goddamn self. Shots fired.
You better tune in to Sonetta and House of Consciousness, bringing street lectures, Shemitic and Cosmetic scholars and professors. Now Valley Consciousness is manifesta.
All right, first and foremost, of course, got to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. It's the brother Al-Azhar Ben Loya, aka the Guerrilla Hebrew, and now I'm going to do this response to Zion Lexx. As we see, Zion is in his feelings right now. He's hurt. He's very emotional right now. We can see that response that he did and he directed towards myself and Captain Tazariak of the ISUPK was clearly emotionally charged. He presented a lecture. He presented information. I didn't agree with the information that he presented. I scholastically and respectfully responded to the presentation that he did. Brother Sonetta, of course, re-uploaded it upon his channel. And instead of responding to the information that I did to counter his information scholastically, he went on a 35-minute emotional rant, okay, exposing himself. And this is understandable. The brother is in his feelings because we clearly can see scholastically with what I presented, he didn't respond to and couldn't deal with on any level. And why is that? Because he is denying the Messiah that the Creator ordained, who the world intimately calls Christ Yahweh Shai, and this is where this entire conflict comes from. And we knew it was the elephant in the room in Israel. Israel was putting on this this veneer that it was all good, and everybody knew it wasn't all good. We sit here and criticize people who are in other communities, specifically people who subscribe to Kemetic ideology and doctrine, and say, well, they don't all agree on the same thing. No, they don't, and nor do we. Let's be honest here. And the biggest disagreement that we do have is Messianic versus non-Messianic. And this is being labeled as Old versus New Testament. This is not an Old versus New Testament thing, because we diligently follow the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. In fact, the New Testament explicitly commands us to diligently follow the Old Testament. All right. So it's bigger than that. Okay. It's ideology. All right. A lot of non-Messianic brothers are heavily influenced by the construct of Judaism, by European ideology, and they allow Europeans to dictate how they view their own history and culture. So Zion Lexx, of course, being in his feelings and emotionally charging, initiates his response by talking about how much longer he's been conscious to the fact that he's a Hebrew Israelite. Talking about how far above and ahead of the curve he is than myself. All right, boasting himself and feeling himself, but giving no work in his response. Okay, which is a testament to the weakness again of the argument. All right, and then he even went on to say in the video that he emphatically proves that Isaiah 53 is not talking about who the world calls Christ and is talking about Israel, when I already disqualified. I took that from you, Zion. You have to accept that that's been taken from you. And if you want to continue and further that conversation, we can go deeper into the text, and I will further take that from you and disqualify that Isaiah the 53rd chapter is in reference to Israel as an entire nation. It's in reference to the Messiah, to the Messianic person that has been prophesied from the days of old. I just want to understand that there's something that that he said in his response that it is mind-boggling to me. He said he painted the picture as if I was constantly coming in for information. I want you to produce the proof that I came for you. Well, listen, I'll give you once, even though I can't even recall one time. Produce the proof that I came to you of an upwards of 2 times for information on a personal level. I don't have your phone number. Yes, we were friends on Facebook. We communicated in general in groups on GroupMe, but outside of that, I can't recall ever personally coming to you requesting information. May I have applauded information that you presented before the whole community? Indefinitely, because you have produced a lot of heavy and powerful information and submitted it to the community. All right, I would never take that away from you, but for you to sit here and give the notion as if you some big homie and I'm coming to you on a little brother, big brother relationship, we never had that relationship, my brother. And do not convey that to the people to try to make it look like I'm just some little brother trying to stop on the big brother. And it's funny that you would do that, because when I came against GMS, you applauded me. You got on Sunday TV and you extolled my name to the clouds.
Guerrilla Hebrew, one of the primary members in the Hebrew war machine. When you watch Guerrilla Hebrew go in, that brother Guerrilla Hebrew created an intellectual environment that was so aggressive for them that the last thing that they could do was laugh.
It was all good when I came at GMS. But now that you're getting came at, or an Israelite that people are friendly with, as opposed to GMS, which typically aren't friendly with other Israelites, is coming at, people have something to say. Again, like I said in my initial video, this is just business. It's not personal. You were teaching fallacies and lies about the scriptures, and it has to come and be corrected, because the lies that you are perpetuating about the scriptures can potentially hinder one's salvation. All right? And that's something that's major. We're not trying to shut up the gates of heaven for any one particular brother. We want all of Israel to come into repentance, okay, and be delivered by the Most High when he sends his only begotten son, Yahweh Shah. It's funny that you proclaim to be such this prolific and deep Torah teacher. We're going to analyze that. He claims that he's been in the truth, knowing that he's an Hebrew Israelite for an upwards of 20 years. Okay, and he claims that that experience that he has with the Torah puts him light years ahead of me and my understanding of the Torah. All right, I find that very interesting. For a man that has been in the knowledge for 20 years, you don't look like a Torah keeper. You don't look like you exemplify the Torah, and I'm going to prove it. Let's go here to the book of Leviticus 19 and 27. All right, this is for anybody out there. This is going to be plain and to the point. All right, anybody, whether you believe in the scriptures or not, can tell that if you are violating this commandment right here, you clearly are not a keeper of Torah. All right, this is Leviticus 19 and 27. Ye shall not round the corners of your heads neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. So according to Torah, a man of the Most High God, a Hebrew Israelite, is commanded to keep a beard on his face, which you clearly have marred the corners of your beard. So at the first glance of you, anybody with any type of sense or any rudimentary knowledge of the Torah can tell that you are not an avid and diligent Torah keeper. And that's why you hate who the world calls Christ, Yahweh Shai, because he commanded and diligently kept the Torah and said that if you do not diligently keep the Torah, even the least of the commandments, you will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. All right, so it's evidently clear that you are not a true Torah keeper. Another testimony to the fact that you are not a true Torah keeper is your subscription unto the Talmud. I've heard you and seen you on many occasions in various discussions endorse the Talmud and sing the praises of the Talmud and teach out of the Talmud. I have seen you do this, so don't deny it, all right? I want to go into the Talmud and I want to analyze a few things about the Talmud, all right? And see if what the Talmud teaches is cohesive with what the Torah teaches. Just like if shaving your beard off your face is cohesive with the Torah. No, it's not. So that's already one strike against you. Now let's go into the Talmud and let's compare it against the Torah in just a few implications, and implications dealing specifically with sexual immorality. And by the end of this Talmud portion we're going to go into, everybody in the conscious community is going to understand that you have no place, and you had no place, in commending me for me coming against GMS. You had no place expressing your disdain and how sickened you were at GMS's teaching of raping 12 and 13-year-old girls when we deal with what the Talmud, something you subscribe to, says about dealing and having sexual intercourse and relations with girls and boys even younger than that. It is despicable and it is disgusting, and you have your nerve speaking out against anybody in the case of sexual immorality when you make subscriptions unto the Talmud. All right? But you have the nerve to criticize the New Testament when the New Testament does not endorse anything half as detestable as the things that the Talmud does. You have your nerve. These guys claim to be Torah only or Torah centric, yet they have a million other books that they read, and that determines their interpretations of the Torah. And the majority of the books that they read to influence their interpretations of the Torah are all authored by European Jewish people, hook-nosed bastards, Khazars, Khazarian converts, and identity thieves of our nationality. So you have your damn nerve critiquing the New Testament, all right? But let's deal with the information. Let's go here first. This is via Yibamuth, if I'm saying it correctly, 59b. Rabbi Shimi ben Haya stated, a woman who had intercourse with a beast is eligible to marry a priest. This is what they're saying in the Talmud, that it's cool if a woman commits bestiality. All right, let's continue. Likewise, it was taught a woman who had intercourse with that which is no human being, though she is in consequence subject to penalty of stoning, is nevertheless permitted to marry a priest. Okay, let me continue. Rabbi Demi came, he related it once again, that while a young man was sweeping the floor, a village dog covered her from the rear, and Rabbi permitted her to marry a priest. Samuel said, even a high priest. So according to the Talmud, it's cool to engage in bestiality. And a woman who in fact engaged in bestiality can marry a priest, even a high priest. Okay, so you, the great Moreh, Zion Lexx, is that centric with the Torah? Does that synthesize with the Torah? Yes or no? It's all right. We're going to find out. Let's go here to the book of Leviticus, the 20th chapter and the 16th verse. Torah speaking. And if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereunto, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. So when does she have time to get married to anybody if she has committed a sin that is punishable by death? How does that make sense? How does the Talmud make sense? How does the Talmud align with the Torah? It doesn't. It is blasphemy. And the fact, again, that you subscribe to the Talmud disqualifies you from being able to open your mouth and say anything and critique the New Testament on any level. And the beast, they shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. I'm going now to the next chapter of Leviticus, the 21st chapter and the 14th verse. A widow or a divorced woman or profane, right? Or a harlot, these shall he not take, but he shall take a virgin of his own people. This is instructions for who a high priest of the nation of Israel is to marry a young woman who is of Israelite descent and lineage, okay? Not somebody who is profane. Any woman who committed the act of bestiality would be a woman that is profane. Yet the Talmud endorses the fact that she can marry a high priest. Again, the Torah speaks expressly and explicitly against this. Therefore, the Talmud has been disqualified. Therefore, your credibility has been disqualified as somebody who, again, subscribes unto the Talmud. Now we're going to go into the real meat and potatoes, though. We're going to go into the pedophilia, and even worse than pedophilia, something that's called infantophilia, a specifically sick form of pedophilia that exists, okay? And that is endorsed within the Talmud, which is explicitly and strictly condemned with death and capital punishment in the Torah. So again, let me ask you, how deep are you really in the Torah? I'm small in the Torah. I don't know the Torah. I teach the Torah every week. We go into the Torah. We are avid on the keeping of the laws, just as our Savior, Yahweh Shai, was and is unto this day. Okay? The commandments that he taught in the New Testament all were about going back to the Old Testament and keeping those laws, keeping the initial heritage handed down to us by the Most High through Moses. He was all about avidly pushing that, all right? So we keep the Torah and we teach the Torah. We go into the Torah on a weekly basis. Just like y'all have a Torah portion y'all go into on a weekly basis. You are not alone. That is not unique to you. When we go into the Torah, we see things like this being condemned. And when you go into Torah, you see room for the Talmud to still come in. All right? That's goddamn ridiculous. So everybody, we remember when he got up there and said, polite Guerrilla Hebrew banged on GMS. And GMS is sickening for saying they rape 12 and 13-year-old girls. We all remember him saying this.
Guerrilla Hebrew, one of the primary members in the Hebrew war machine, has already done a video about this way before Polite has put out his video. If you go to Guerrilla Hebrew's channel on YouTube, you'll see that Guerrilla Hebrew has condemned them in a very harsh way. So with that being said, we condemn GMS. We've been condemning GMS. I mean, for GMS to say that it's okay for a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old girl to get raped, that's sickening. You and to dare stand by the Torah and tell people in the street that the Torah teaches that, I have to ask you, GMS, where you getting that in the Torah?
Guess what? He subscribes to a piece of literature that endorses that and endorses even worse than that. This is Kathu Both 11b. Rabbi says it means this: when a grown-up man has intercourse with a little girl, it is nothing. For when this girl is less than this, it is one who puts a finger into the eye. We're going to find out what the less than this is, okay? We're going to go to Sanhedrin 55b. A maiden aged 3 years and 1 day may be required in marriage by coition. And for those of y'all that aren't familiar with the term coition, coition means to come together or to have sexual intercourse. So the Talmud is saying that a grown man can have a marriage and consummate the marriage with a sexual intercourse with a baby as young as 3 years old and 1 day. But Zion Lexx has the nerve to critique GMS. Are y'all out of your mind? And I'm going to tell you something, Zion. You talking about you've been knowing you a Hebrew 20 years, all that good stuff. How do I dare come at you when you way above me? Let me tell you something. The whole world watched me go against my own elders, who have been knowing that they were Hebrew Israelites, most of them for over 20 years. Tahar, the leader of Great Millstone, for over 30 years. Okay? And if I'm going to call them on things that they were incorrect on, please believe any and everybody can get called out and nobody is exempt. Because again, I'm about my Father's business. I'm not about anything personal. This is all business. You are teaching lies. You are feeding our people, the flock of the pastor of the Most High God, with genetically modified foods in the form of the ideology and philosophy that you teach and the misinterpretation of Torah, as well as teaching people the Talmud. Therefore, you get called out, period. Especially when you sit up there and proudly mock who many of people who you claim to be brothers regard as their savior. All right? So understand, you brought all of this upon yourself, okay? And the Spirit of the Most High is delivering it unto you by Hashem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. Again, it says in the Talmud that a grown man can come together with a 3-year-old baby in sexual intercourse and have her to wife. That's how sick the Talmud is. And you know who follows the Talmud? Those white Jewish rats that Zion Lexx is just a black version of. All right? And let's prove that. This Hebrews 12 and 16. Lest there be any fornicator. Fornicator is somebody who participates in an illicit act of sex. pedophilia, infantophilia, bestiality, homosexuality, adultery, all those things would qualify as fornication. This is New Testament for the record. Or profane person, Salakia. Or profane person as Esau, as the white man. The white man is a pedophile. The white man is into zoophilia or bestiality. The white man is a homosexual. Okay, but all of these things are upheld by those that author the Sanhedrin. And Zion Lexx is now following after those same footsteps as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. So let's keep going in this Talmud and let's see some more information about the Talmud. All right. And its sick, disgusting teachings. This is of the footnotes of Rabbi Dr. Friedman. The reference is to the passive subject of sodomy. As stated in Supra 54a, guilt is incurred by the active participant even if the former be a minor, i.e. less than 13 years old. Now, however, it is stated that within this age a distinction is drawn, i.e. Rabbi makes 9 years the minimum. But if one committed sodomy with a child of lesser age, no guilt is incurred. Do you understand that? Let me read that one more time. But if one committed sodomy with a child of lesser age, no guilt is incurred. So the Talmud is telling you that if you have sex with a child that's younger than 9 years old, particularly a boy younger than 9 years old, as a man sodomized a boy under 9 years old, we talking about Bishop Eddie Long, we talking about Sandusky. What happens? No guilt, according to the Talmud. All right? The same book that Zion subscribes to, while he then points fingers at the New Testament. Let me tell you something, Zion Lexx. Do not, I repeat, do not throw stones if you live in a glass house. Do we understand? You live in a glass house. All right? I've seen you on many times defend the Talmud. I've seen you on many times criticize those that critique the Talmud. And you have your nerve to say anything about the New Testament or anything about GMS. And again, we don't stand for the rape doctrine that GMS teaches. We debunk that. So as we clearly can see, the Talmud conflicts to tremendous degrees with the Torah. So anybody who claims to be Torah-centered and accepts the Talmud is a goddamn liar. All right? Which Zion Lexx would fall into that category. Okay, so again, he has his nerve to talk about how deep off into the Torah he is and how much of a higher level and understanding of the Torah he is than brothers like myself when he subscribes again to the Talmud. And he has his nerve critiquing GMS for their rape doctrine when the Talmud upholds an even more viral doctrine of pedophilia and infantophilia and sodomy. You see what I'm saying? Disgusting. All right? Let me continue. Let's go again to the Torah. We're going to go to the Torah. We're going to slice that Talmud up. This is Leviticus 20 and 13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, meaning if you commit sodomy, okay, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. That's supposed to happen to anybody who commits sodomy. And if anybody does that to a child, he is to be put to death according to the Torah. But what does the Talmud say? The opposite of that. A 9-year-old boy, oh, it's cool if he 9 or younger. Or a little girl, it's cool if she 3. You can fuck on that. Are you sick and disgusting and twisted? And you have the nerve to call yourself a shepherd and a quote-unquote moray of our people? Nigga, you out of your damn mind. This is Deuteronomy 23 and 17. We stand in the Torah. See, I can play this. Anybody who knows me and follows my teachers know the majority of my teachers is coming out of the Torah in the Old Testament anyway. But of course I deal with the New Testament. Of course I accept Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Christ, as the Messiah. Of course. But anybody who knows me knows I'm usually off into that Old Testament in that Torah. I am of the tribe of Levi, the priestly tribe. If you know about the Old Testament, of course, the first 5 books are Levitical books, and the majority of the prophets of the Old Testament, the major prophets, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, etc., Zechariah, were of the tribe of Levi, Ezra, etc., right? It's Deuteronomy 23 and 17. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. So again, clearly in the law, sodomy is something that is intolerable. We have a zero tolerance policy in the nation of Israel for the act of sodomy. Yet the Talmud doesn't. The Talmud tolerates it if it's on a boy younger than 9. That's sick and that's disgusting. Okay, and you have the nerve to critique the ISUPK. The ISUPK oftentimes harps on the molestation that many people don't harp on, that takes place in our communities, and many of our people take a blind eye to. I hear them harp on it on a regular basis. But you uphold a book that supports that, yet you condemn brothers that bang on that. You're backwards. Your ass backwards, my brother. Okay? And you need to reevaluate yourself and not act with so much pride and off of emotions, and examine yourself. That's what I encourage you to do. And that's what we all have to do. Constantly check ourselves before we get checked. And that's why I put that video out in the first place, to check you, because you didn't check yourself. And then you wanted to do an emotional response. You need to get checked again. And it's going to be checkmate, especially with this Talmud information that's coming out and how against Torah it is. Okay, we're going to shed a light on this. And it's funny because Zion Lexx was so emotional. Once my video got out, brother sent me screenshots of him making posts and statuses, and on the comment threads of his posts and statuses, he's talking about and co-signing with brother saying that I'm not of the blood lineage of Israel. Number one, let me explain something to you. The Talmud tells you your mother determines if you were Israelite. The Torah tells you your father. Just as Moses had children with an Ethiopian woman, but it explicitly tells us in the Old Testament that his children were called after the tribe of Levi. Why? Because they came from Moses, who came from the line of Levi, just as my father. See, it's a funny thing. He gonna critique me and call me a guerrilla. Number one, the way I spell guerrilla qualifies it as a strategic war tactic, a specific way you wage war. All right, an unorthodox form of war that is waged. Okay, and my forefathers in the Isle of Haiti utilized that same guerrilla tactics and warfare that I'm spiritually utilizing against the likes of you and others, of course, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, to combat enemies and to defeat enemies. And you could go and get scholastic books where trials, where my actual descendants, people who I descend from rather, are being put on trial for their resistance and their fight against the so-called white man and the oppression that they will put on our people. I can tell you where my people came from in slavery in Benin and Togo. Everybody can't say that. So everything about me and my pedigree is that of an Israelite. All right, but it's funny that I'm guerrilla Hebrew and you co-signing me, you riding me. It's all good, but then as soon as I come against you, now I'm not of the lineage of Israel. You see, that's that emotion I'm talking about. That's the weakness of your flesh that Yahweh Shai and the apostles of the New Testament are speaking about, man. But see, you wouldn't know that because you hate Christ. You hate Yahweh Shai. Why? Because he condemns you. This is Isaiah 8 and 20. All right, Old Testament. Now, we're going to stay in the Old Testament. I'm going to go to the New Testament in a second. But for these next couple scriptures, we're going to stay in the Old Testament. The thing that he claims to stand on is Isaiah 8 and 20. To the law. So we just read the law, right? We just went through various sexual laws that go totally against what the Talmud is teaching, again, that Zion subscribes to. To the law and to the testimony, meaning the prophecies. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So there is no light in that Talmud. There is no enlightenment in that Talmud, nor is there enlightenment in anybody who stands upon it and teaches it. It says if you do not speak according to the law and testimony, there is no light in you. And as we see, the Talmud speaks especially against the law and the testimony. We just went and showed 4 small minor instances we're dealing with sexual immorality. When you go deeper into the Talmud, you see even more where it doesn't agree with the law and the testimony that the Most High codified for us in what is known as the Old Testament, the Torah, and the Tanakh. Okay, so the hell out of here with that. All right, this is Psalms 19 and 8. The statutes of Yahweh are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Yahweh is pure, enlightening the eyes. So the law, statutes, commandments, or the Torah that was handed down to us by the Most High through Moses enlightens us. Okay, but when you go against that Torah, there is no enlightenment within you. Okay, pursuant to Isaiah 8 and 20. So by you teaching and propagating the Talmud, you're not enlightened, and you're not enlightening the people, because the things that you stand on are corrupted. But you have the nerve to criticize again the New Testament and claim that it is corrupted. You better, man, like the New Testament says, so you hate Christ, you hate Yahweh Shai so much. And the reason is because he's all over your ass. Yahweh Shai said, get rid of the log that's in your eye before you worry about the speck that's in your brother's. So I'm sure that the criticism that you have against the New Testament pale in comparison to the sexual immorality that is endorsed within the Talmud. Let's just be honest here. All right, we talking about 3-year-old girls it's okay to have sex with. But again, you have the nerve to criticize GMS. Not a boy younger than 9, you can sodomize. Are you out of your goddamn mind? But you have the nerve again to stand behind that. That's ridiculous. See, but it's okay, because by accepting the Talmud, what you did was reject part of the Torah, the parts of the Torah that contradict the Talmud, right? So let's go here to Deuteronomy 27 and 26. Cursed, you hear that? Cursed be he that confirmeth not all the words of this law to do them, and all the people shall say amen. Number one, you didn't confirm all the laws when you woke up and got that clean baby face shape. That's when you didn't confirm all the laws to do them. So cursed be ye, okay? You talk about 20 years you've been in the truth, and when somebody takes a look at you, you do not personify the Torah. See, Yahweh Shai, who you hate, he personified the Torah. You don't have a beard on your face. Your hair is probably lined up. You're probably wearing mixed fabrics and garments. How often do you have fringes on, man? Let's be honest here. Do you really personify a Torah keeper? You the perfect great moray Torah keeper? No, I'm going to tell you who personified the Torah and the word of the Most High, who the word Italy calls Christ, Yahweh Shai, the only begotten of Yahweh. Period. Now we're going to go to the New Testament. Let's see what the New Testament says about those who don't follow the law. Okay, and again, endorsing the Talmud is blasphemy against the law. Shaving your face is a clear-cut example that we can see that you don't follow the law. So watch this, Romans 3 and 31, since you hate the New Testament, and especially Paul's writings. Do we then make void the law through faith? Yahweh forbid. Yea, we establish the law. Okay, and when you look at the Hebrew word for confirmeth in the aforementioned verse, Deuteronomy 27 and 26, when it cursed be he that confirmeth not all the law, when you go into that Hebrew word, one of the connotations it has is established. So Paul said, what? God forbid we don't establish the law. We establish the law. All right, that's the teachings of the New Testament, the establishment of the law, the keeping of the law diligently. But what is the teaching of the Talmud? The opposite of that. But it's all right. Again, I understand why you hate Yahweh Shai, because he cuts you. It's Matthew 15 and 7. When he was on the scene, it was guys like you whose ass he was getting all over. Pause. Ye hypocrites, well did Esaias or Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, this people draweth nigh to me with their mouth. He talks about how deep he is in the Torah, how long he's been serving the Most High. You draw near to the Most High with your mouth, but watch this. See, he got your number, and he's quoting the great prophet Isaiah. And honoreth me with their lips. All praises to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When you clearly shave the beard that the Most High God gave you as a mane to recognize you in a badge of manhood and as a lion for the Most High, you destroyed that. So you speak a good game with your lips and your mouth, right? But their heart is far from me. That's why you accept the Talmud, because your heart is far from the Creator. Okay? But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. So in vain you worship the Father, because you teach for doctrines the commandments of men. The commandments of men that you teach for doctrine is the Talmud. Okay? And don't run and don't try to backtrack and divert now, because you know you endorse that book. Again, we're going to show another example. We're going to remain here in the book of Matthew and show another prime example of why they hate Yahweh Shai, okay, and why they deny him and they don't want to accept him as the Messiah, because he's cutting into their flesh. It's Matthew 5, starting at 17. Think not that I have come to destroy the law. Yahweh Shai did not come to destroy the law, or the prophets, or the prophecies. I am not come to destroy. So Yahweh Shai avidly followed the Old Testament. He said he didn't come to do anything negatively to the Old Testament, but to fulfill, because there are prophecies that are found within the Old Testament, like Genesis 49 and 10, like Isaiah 53, which has been taken from you, Zion, that speak expressly of him. So that's what he's coming to fulfill. All right? There's prophecies that speak of the Messiah going through hell and even being brought into death, and prophecies speaking about Yahweh Shai's, and prophecies speaking about Yahweh Shai making a divine and miraculous return and triumphant return on the earth. So he's meeting those prophecies. Some he found 2,000 years ago, and when he returns, the rest, the triumphant ones, they will be fulfilled. Okay, so again, think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am come not to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle in no wise shall pass from the law. So Yahweh Shai, Christ, who you hate, he was a stricter and deeper teacher of the Torah than you. All right, that's why you hate him, out of jealousy, because it wasn't you who the Lord chose. Shall all be fulfilled. Verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, shaving a beard, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. See, because followers of the Talmud, according to Yahushua, will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. When dominion is restored unto the nation of Israel, what's going to happen? All those of you that denied Yahushua and were not keeping the law for real, following the Talmud and other madness, guess what? You're going to be called least. All right? But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. And that's who Zion Lexx and his other non-messianic cohorts are. The reincarnation of those scribes and Pharisees that hated Yahushua. Okay, but he constantly cut, and that's why they hated him so damn much. Because the things that he taught were infallible, and they destroyed their doctrines. They brought their lives crashing down. They didn't want to accept it. Okay, out of jealousy, out of pride, out of arrogancy. And that's what's wrong with our damn people. Jealousy, pride, arrogancy, and selfishness is what got us in the position that we're currently in. So the only way that we're going to get out of that position is through selflessness and total submission unto the Most High. And the Most High said you cannot come to him but through his only begotten Son. All right. So that's just a pill that y'all going to have to swallow and deal with. And if you don't, you're going to have to deal with the judgment that comes with that. It's John 4:22. Ye worship, ye know not what. It's to you, Zion. We know what we worship. For salvation is of the Jews. Verse 23. But the hour cometh, and now is Yahushua talking, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. So what was Yahushua coming for? To seek the true worshipers of the Father, the true keepers of the Torah. That's why he so adamantly pushed the Torah and so diligently kept the Torah, because he was coming for those who worship the Father. So you were playing us as if we worship the Christ figure. You know, Christ made it clear. We worship Yahweh. We worship the Most High. Just because we have a Messiah, just as we could go anywhere in our history. We could go to the book of Judges. We had several Messiahs. Whether it been Ehud, whether it been Gideon, whether it been Samson. They were all Messiahs. Moses was a Messiah to our people. You understand what I'm saying? Etc., etc. We have various Messiahs set up at various times, man. Okay, and Yahushua happens to be the one that will miraculously, triumphantly return in the last days to deliver our people. Because we have fallen further away now than we ever had. Okay, so we need an even more miraculous salvation, even more than the one that took place in ancient Egypt by the hand of Moses. That's what you don't understand. But only the true worshipers of the Father, the true keepers of the Torah, and acceptors of Hamashiach Yahushua are going to be the ones that get saved or delivered. So you better check yourself, man. I mean, you don't got to check yourself, okay? And you're going to get checked by the Most High, man. And it's funny, though, that, you know, dealing with all that pedophilia talk that is in, you know, Zion's beloved Talmud, he gave King Noble a big up. We already know King Noble is all for the rape of the black woman. So it's just funny how, you know, you talk about how sick and disgusting you are by GMS, and it just proves how disingenuous you are. You know, because you read and teach out of a book that okays even worse and more despicable practices than the rape of a 12 or a 13-year-old girl. When we're talking about the rape of a 3-year-old baby, the rape of a boy under the age of 9 years old. Those are more despicable acts. And King Noble, of course, is also with the rape ideology, so it's no wonder why you co-sign him, okay? Because you guys both share this infatuation for polite. Something else that attests to how disingenuous you are is the fact that when this video came out, or when Sonetta re-uploaded my video on his channel on Sonetta Studio, what did you immediately do? You went and ran to Sonetta. When you were the main one campaigning to boycott Sonetta, to boycott any events they do, running counter events, saying we should have no further dealings as Hebrew Israelites with them. You were the main one doing that. But what did you do when it's directly against your word, when you felt like it can help you? Okay? So it just proves how disingenuous you are. Your character, the flaws in your character, rather, are being exposed every time you open your mouth. I would just be quiet if I was you. That's just my advice. Of course, you don't have to listen to me. But the fact is, if you don't want to be further exposed and caught out there, just be quiet. Maybe it'll die down. It's funny that you say there's nothing else our community can be speaking about. Our community is out there speaking about what's really going on. Okay, you got sisters that the police are murdering and covering it up. We the ones that go on the streets and speak about that and create awareness for our people who are caught up in Meek Mill versus Drake and Nicki Minaj and Iggy Azalea and all this madness. We the ones that hit the streets and inform them of these things that are taking place. We the ones on the front lines of our community. And y'all are the same ones that came to us and tried to attach yourselves to our momentum and our energy and capitalize off it and get a name for yourself based off of our energy. When people think of Israelites, they don't think of you niggas, man. They think of the brothers that stand on that street and bang on this beast. The brothers that stand on this street and tell our people like it is, how it is to their face and call them back to repentance. That's what people know Israelites for. Not that bullshit black Judaism that y'all participate in. So you got some goddamn nerve criticizing us and the work that we do when you don't do nothing. I see Nasi out there feeding the homeless. Where the hell was you at? You wasn't nowhere. You've been in that damn temple for the last 20 years and you just started coming out. Let's be honest here. And that's exactly why nobody from your congregation is standing with you or standing behind you. Nobody wants a part of the heat that's coming your way right now. That's why you was out there by yourself. Don't act, I'm out here by myself. Nobody wants to stand with you on this, man. I got non-messianics that are supporting my video that I'm attacking non-messianic rhetoric and doctrine on. That's a testament to what the hell you got going on, man. That's a testament to that people see how disingenuous you are, how full of it you are, how much pride you have, how ego-driven you are. Another testament to how disingenuous you are. You say Jesus is a carbon copy of Kemet, which came from Tammuz, from Sumer, all of that. You share stages with brothers and have been at events where I have personally seen brothers present information that debunks that claim, yet you perpetuate and propagate it. You see how disingenuous and how much of a snake you really are? You got the nerve to call somebody apep. You moving a whole lot like that whom you criticize. You are embodying that negative principle that you condemn people for who you say embody. More testimony to how disingenuous he is. In the video with Sarnetta said the name of Yahweh Shai, which is the true name of who the world ignorantly calls Christ. He then corrects it and said Yahweh Shai, they made that up. The real name is Yeshua. This same dude, when he presented his information, I believe it was at the I think it was at the Exodus Memorial that they did back in April. When he presented the information, he started with Shalom, but he said Shalom, Shalom, it's all the same thing. It's just various dialects. He didn't condemn what we call the Lashawan Kodashim, what brothers who come from a One West foundation speak, the dialect of Hebrew that we speak. He didn't condemn it. He said it's all good because if we're going to write it in Hebrew, we all going to write the same thing. This is what he said. Now he's on record saying that that's incorrect and we made that up and the name is Yeshua. You know why you said that? Because you love the white man. You love the devil. Why do you love the devil? Because you are speaking a lexified Slavic Yiddish dialect that has been lexified to the ancient, not even the ancient, to the Assyrian Hebrew script. That's what you're speaking. You're not speaking the true ancient Paleo-Hebrew of our forefathers. And a brother, I suggest everybody check this out, a brother by the name of Kazawan, okay, aka Tribe of Judah Teach. He has a video called The Name of the Most High, where he emphatically, scholastically proves that the Lashawan Kodash dialect that we speak is accurate and the most primitive and original language on this planet Earth. He proves that without a shadow of a doubt. Okay, so keep speaking that Jewish crap and keep being off into black Judaism like you are, but that's being exposed. The veil is being ripped off of all of that ideology through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And we give all thanks, praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh in the name of his only begotten son, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, for that, because it's beautiful. Lives are being broken down. And people are saying you are destroying the unity. You're trying to break down the unity in the Hebrew community. Understand something. A lot of times you have to break down things in order to build things back up. All right? When the Kingdom was destroyed back in Seattle when I was a kid, I'm from the Pacific Northwest. They had to implode the Kingdom in order to build Safeco Field and CenturyLink like we have now. It had to go. It had to be torn down. That old, decrepit, dilapidated building had to be torn down. And non-Messianic black Judaism is the Kingdom. And you need to make way for what? The Safeco Field and CenturyLink Stadium. Okay? That's what needs to happen. I also have the nerve to critique the way that we deal with our people sometimes in the streets, which is really a minority of the times that he was speaking on. But it's funny because it's a testament, again, to how much he doesn't know the scriptures and how disingenuous his claim is that he is somebody who is rooted in the Torah and the Tanakh. Let's go here to Isaiah 28:11 to prove it. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. When you go into the Hebrew for that term stammering, it means with mockery, mocking, calling somebody a buffoon. So sometimes the Most High speaks through his prophets, who are the men that go out there to them highways and byways and push this truth in the name of Yahweh Shai, speaks through his prophets to his people with mockery. Okay, to mock them, to scorn, to get them to realize the error of their ways, because sometimes that's the only thing that our stubborn, hard-headed people respond to. That's the only thing that will wake them up. Now I want to focus on the second part of that verse. It says, and another tongue. He's going around criticizing the King James Version of Bible. We never said it was infallible, but we have to understand that our people, our brothers and sisters, they speak English. The Most High said he's going to speak to them in another tongue, meaning a tongue outside of our original tongue, which is the Hebrew. So our brothers and sisters are out there who have no knowledge of speaking English. So we have to talk to them in a language in which that they can understand. This is why we use the King James Version translation. All right? That's why. And then once you come into learning, then you begin to learn on the Hebrew. So don't play that game of, oh, the King James Version is whack. Y'all got to get down with the Hebrew. We deal with the Hebrew, but everybody doesn't read or speak the Hebrew. So I'm not going to read or speak the Hebrew to everybody. All right. I'm not going to go in the middle of an English speaking neighborhood and start speaking Spanish and expect people to understand what I'm talking about. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. How are you going to reach anybody? See, that's what's wrong, man. Y'all play these little, and it's funny because what happens is the Hebrew community will unite and go against, let's say, the Kemetic community. And the Hebrew community will criticize certain of the mechanisms and of the rhetoric that the Kemetic community comes with to combat us. Then what happens is when the divide comes between Messianic and non-Messianic, the non-Messianic use the same slippery slopes and strawmans that the Kemetics would use against the Israelite community as a whole against the Messianic community. It's funny the way that works. And the reason why it is a testimony to the truth that is possessed by the brothers who are Messianic. And Zion lets you know the majority of your supporters were Messianic. That's why you know you messed up. And the further you dig yourself in the hole, you're just going to see where it gets you, brother. Everybody knows the primary supporters of the Hebrew war machine are comprised of a majority of Messianic brothers. And everybody's upset now because it's causing a divide, but this is a divide that has to come. Sometimes division have to come in order for unity to come. Sometimes lines have to be drawn in the sand in order for the truth to be strengthened and the right path to be followed by people. So this is really all about the edification of the people and what the flock is eating. We're supposed to be feeding the flock good and wholesome food. And that Talmud and that Black Judaism non-Messianic doctrine, that's not good and wholesome food. That's genetically modified. That's Monsanto.